Okay, for my movie, I chose Cars the movie. It's a movie I grew up watching pretty much daily. My dad owns a body shop and was super into cars, and he got me into it. And it's just a movie I fell in love with, and to this day, I still will watch it when I'm bored. Here's my table of contents. Okay, so the movie takes place in Radiator Springs. The movie's about Lightning McQueen, who is a little hotshot race car driver. He's got that young spirit to him. He starts to learn about life and the journey and how it's not always crossing the finish line in first place, but he still crosses it. He finds himself lost and alone after damaging Route 66 and being ordered to repair it in the forgotten town of the Radiator Springs. These are my main characters. Little red car is Lightning McQueen. Like I said, he's a daredevil race car driver. Has that all about me, that very cocky attitude that, a young teenager would have. Throughout the movie, he starts to humble down and becomes very sweet and caring. My next character is Doc Hudson. He's the blue car to the left. He's also known as Hudson Hornet. He's a small town judge, and he's looking over with a very watchful eye, making sure that the community is well taken care of, well watched over. Yeah, and so he works with actually my next main character, Sally Carrera, and while he's the judge of the small town, she actually is the attorney. She's a little Porsche. She absolutely fell in love with Radiator Springs while visiting and kind of took over and wanted to keep it, perfect, and was super determined to keep it up and running. And so she kind of settled down there and absolutely adores the town and pretty much tries to keep it in tip-top shape and how it once was before. My next main character is Tow Mater. He's a little brown guy in the right corner. He's that rusty old tow truck. He's super wise, from cow tipping to making everyone laugh. He can be sensible and down to earth when needed, but if you're looking for a laugh, you just gotta watch a clip of him. My last one, Chick Hick, I didn't get a good enough picture of him. He's a little green cutlass, and he is Lightning McQueen's top competitor. They have a very big rivalry. He is one of the top race cars along with Lightning McQueen, so they're constantly out to get each other. Okay, my first word I did was perception. It's the process of acquiring, interpreting, and organizing information that is received through your senses. It allows you to become conscious of situations through your stimuli. So, the first scene I chose was pretty much the very beginning of the movie. It's a scene where Lightning McQueen's semi truck had fallen asleep, and Lightning was asleep in the back of the semi truck, and when the semi truck hit the rumble strips, it caused the door to open, and Lightning McQueen ended up in the middle of the interstate. And once he woke up, he, was overrun with stimuli, with the lights, sounds, and the stress of the highway, lots of cars. So it instantly had to get him acquired to what was going on, and he had to basically snap out of his sleepy daze mood and get going, and basically try to figure out what was going on pretty quickly there. Oh, and by the way, this picture was when he got figured out what was going on, and he was driving for a couple miles and pulled up to this semi thinking it was his semi. And of course, every road rage driver, the semi looked at Lightning and told him that he was a moron and he needed to turn on his lights. We've all had those days. My next one I did was listening. Listening is a core skill that is necessary for effective communication. For this scene, I actually chose a form of listening, or what I call the non-listening. It's when two lost minivans got stuck going into Radiator Springs, looking for the interstate. And of course, Radiator Springs is very run down. No one ever comes and visits it. And so all of the workers and all of the townsmen come up and try to offer them services, hotels, food, tire changes, tire rotates. And while the wife was completely in love with it and wanting to talk to everyone, he wanted to keep a straight face forward, didn't want to talk to him, refused to talk to him, refused to stop to listen to him. Whenever he talked, it was very blunt, and he brushed him off their shoulders. My next one I chose was verbal messages. Verbal messages are the use of speech to talk and communicate a point across. At the very beginning of the movie, like I had said, Lightning McQueen had tore up Route 66, and so when they had caught him, because of that, they put a boot on him. And from then, he had to go to a traffic court, like they said. And so they all went to court, and Doc and Sheriff were letting him get away with it for some reason. They didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to, I guess they really didn't know how to deal with the situation. It was such a small town. They hadn't had to go to court in a while. And so right before court ended, Sally had barged through the door because, of course, like a woman, she's always late. And she had fought and fought because she thought it wasn't fair that he was getting away with nothing, that he should be forced to fix his problems, that he needs to learn and grow up. And so, yeah, so she won the case clearly, and so he was forced to fix the road. My next one I chose, of course, to go along with the verbal messages was nonverbal messages. Nonverbal is communication, the transmission of information of body language, tone of voice, or touch. So I chose Police Chase, and in this scene, the sheriff was hiding in a corner, and Lightning McQueen had sped past him at the very beginning of the movie. And so Sheriff had pulled out and turned on his lights and sirens, of course not talking, and trying to catch up to McQueen. Of course, Sheriff had not been in a chase for a while, so he's a little rusty, and his car backfired. And ultimately, that sounded like gunfire to Lightning McQueen, so at first Lightning McQueen was going to stop because he thought Sheriff could help him find where he was going and how to get back to the Piston Cup races. But when he heard the gunshots, he started to speed away. And he went crazy because he was scared and he did not want to stop because he thought he was being shot at and he was wondering what was going on. And Sheriff was getting mad because he wasn't stopping, so Sheriff was speeding up, causing more backfire to happen, so much more gunshots. And while they weren't talking to each other, there was that nonverbal message where Lightning McQueen thought Sheriff was mad at him and was trying to go after him, and it was just this huge communication error between both of them. Okay, interpersonal relationships. I chose the friends and family. Interpersonal relationship is a strong, deep, or close acquaintance between two or more people. I chose Cars Last Race for this, and while it's not shown just in this, it's shown throughout the movie. Doc and Lightning McQueen had a very rough beginning, but then soaring towards the end of the movie, Doc takes over this father figure to Lightning McQueen, and Lightning McQueen absolutely adores Doc because he's one of like the best race car champions. And the very end race for the Dino Cup, Doc is looking over McQueen, and he's the one on the radio speaker telling Lightning what to do, how to get through everyone, and even becomes concerned when Lightning starts having some issues. So he definitely took over that father figure of Lightning, and was guiding him on how to get through. For my last one, I chose conflict management. Conflict management is being able to identify and handle conflict sensibly. Lightning McQueen paves the road is the scene I chose, and I did this because even though Lightning wanted to get away with paving the scene and not wanting to do it, once Sally had talked some sense into him, and they had talked it out and actually sat down, or really drove up to each other and were talking, he comes to the conclusion that he needed to fix the road before he can leave, and he wanted to get it done, so he got it done as quick as possible, whether it was good or bad, and just he knew he needed to fix what he had done. The past couple weeks that I've been in this class actually have really opened my eyes. I didn't notice how bad of communication I had until I actually was reading and looking at it, and I had to take a step back and be like, whoa. It's clear that the past couple weeks have been really hard on me. I had a couple deaths in the family, and it kind of pushed me over the edge with stress. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to help me now that I've stepped back. It's definitely, like, I can already see lots of changes in my relationships with my fiance and my family. And I have looked at how I speak to people, and I use my hands a lot. My mom always says it's a southern thing, but even now that I'm talking right now, I'm using my hands. But yeah, so I'll take a lot of things away with me, and it definitely helped, and I will forever be thankful.